group will present about the Israel-Palestine Conflict Military Wings, the Al-Din al-Qassam Brigades. Okay, let's start with the introductions. The Al-Din al-Qassam Brigades, as known as IQB, is Palestine Islamist political organization, is a military wing of Hamas, primarily operating in the Gaza Strip. Established in 1991, IQB has engaged in numerous conflicts with Israel using various tactics such as missile and rocket attacks. IQB has expanded its capability by enhancing its missile and rockets arsenal and experimenting with drone and underwater commando. Although with limited success, named after Sheikh Al-Din al-Qassam, the brigades carry out armed resistance against perceived occupiers in Palestine. They also take responsibility for attacks targeting Israeli civilians, including circuit bombings. IQB also conducts activity in the West Bank, collaborating with other Palestinian factions in Jenin, forming the Jenin battalions for coordinated cooperation against Israeli targets.
Thank you, AINNUR. Now I move to political and military integrations. The institutional structure of the Qassam Brigade, the nucleus of the army in Gaza and cell in the West Bank. The Qassam Brigade, recognized after the Israel withdrawal from Gaza in 2005, had a more postulated military structure with 6 brigades, 30,000 strong and a supreme military council. They had a scientific department, officer for military development, culture and education, and district military corps. Recruit had to secure a recommendation from an existing card and a certificates of moral and religious commitments from their local mosque before being accepted to the military academic for field training. The political, military and financial support to the movements received since al-Aqsa indicates crucial to understanding its development. The interaction between Hamas and Syrian regime leads to increased military support for Hamas through logistic, security and military facilities. Hamas operatives were granted special permits to purchase weapons and ammunition for training and were allowed bring in military security material without handcrafts or insubstantiation.
Thank you, Julia. Now, the second point is the development of military manufacturing. The Qassam Brigades have been developing their manufacturing capability despite Israeli restrictions on cleaning agents and fertilizers for explosives. The tunnel system and occasional small boat running the Israel blockade in the Gaza have made production more feasible. The brigades are on their way to developing missile launchers, explosive devices and drones that are more accurate, longer range and capable of impacting occupation force fortification. The ideas of manufacturing rockets dates back to the Nidal Farhat and Tito Mas'ab, who manufactured the first Qassam-1 missile in 2001. The manufactures and launch of rockets from Gaza Strip and the West Bank marked a turning point in the conflict between Palestine's resistance faction and Israel.
Thank you, AINNUR. So I continue. Hamas developed modern Qassam rocket in 2005 with a range of 10 to 12 km and explosive material within 10 to 20 kilograms. Approximately 450 Qassam rockets were fired at Israel between 2003 and 2004, and the Kornex-E missile was used for the first time. The Qassam Brigade launched the Yasin missile in 2004, an anti-armor RPG cable to targeting enemy vehicles and installations. They also developed hand grenades and explosive device called Shawas. The brigades drilled combat tunnel in Gaza, changing engagement rule and kidnapping soldier. They also produced unmanned aircraft, the Iraq plane, for intelligence and combat missions. The Israel Air Force intercepted unidentified drone launched by Hamas as a surprise tactic.
As we all know, Israel and Palestine conflict is one of the most serious conflicts of our century, not only because it is difficult to find a solution satisfactory for both parties, but also because it is an active conflict that threatens the Middle East and the whole world because of the superpowers' involvement. Before the arrival of Jewish immigrants to the Palestine was a fertile region mainly inhabited by Arab communities who actively shaped their life and preserved their indigenous culture. Between 1991 and the 1970, the Zionist movement resettled approximately 50,000 European Jews in the central homeland. By 1947, the Jewish population has increased to 600,000, claiming ownership about 6% of Palestinian Arabic land. Despite partition resolution allocating 54% of Palestine lands to colonial settlers, their dissatisfaction led them to engage in acts of terror against civilians. Eventually, they gained control of 81% of Palestine's total area. In the initial of 80 years of Israel existence, Palestinians and their military rule that severely restricted their personal, civil, and political freedom. Additionally, Israeli legislation such as the Abandoned Area Ordinance and the absentee property law facilitated the appropriation of Arab-owned land, leading to the expansion of thousands of Palestinian, confiscation of Arab property, and the detention of arrest of numerous Israeli citizens of Arab descent. Moreover, Israeli Jews has perpetrated ongoing attacks against Palestinians in refugee camps, villages, and towns across our Arab nation. This action, which range from the land confiscation, mass arrest, imposition of curfew, deportation, civilian killing, and torture of the suspect, to the humiliation and restriction of civil rights, as well as the establishment of Jewish settlements and granting special privilege to Jews by allowing violent acts against Palestinians. The act of terrorism against the Palestinians in their own state is really unacceptable because Israel is the one who come to the Palestine, but they act like their owners because they wish to have a Jewish state. Regarding the resolution between Israel and Palestine, on November 29, 1947, the Assembly adopted the majority plan despite objection from Arab states who challenged the General Assembly authority to partition the country against the wishes of its inhabitants. That is, the Arab opposed the decision, but Jews accept the decision because they want to have their own countries. Fast forward to the February 2021, several Palestinian families from Sheikh Jarrah lodged an appeal against a court ruling, leading to demonstration against the appeal hearings and the ongoing legal dispute over land ownership that could result in the eviction of Palestinians from their home in Jerusalem. Following a court decision favoring the eviction in early May, the protests intensified, prompting Israeli police to use force to control the demonstrators. Overall, for the background of Israel and Palestine conflict, Israel is the one who started the conflict because they want to have a Jewish state. They will attack, torture the Palestinians so that the Palestinians will go out from their land and the Israel can have the land.
Before I share the historical context, let me share the preview of Israel-Palestine al-Qassam. In this context, reconstructions and restructuring military operations evolved from every stage. The first unit is nicknamed as Israel-Palestine al-Qassam Brigades. Also, Abu Marzuki reports that none of them were separate from Dr. Khairi al-Agha until later about the leaderships of movement had formed a military unit which was called the Israel-Palestine al-Qassam Brigade. Apparently, to distinguish it from Abu Azam Brigade, a non-entity at the time. This is not just surprising, especially since military statement limiting was issued after the outbreak of the Intifada to effect that the Israel occupation force has targeted by the Islamic resistance in different circumstances, including the group of Majiks in the North Gaza Peninsula, Abu Azam Brigade in West Bank, and al-Qassam Brigades in Rafah, and al-Wusta Abdul al-Hakim Hanini 1995. One of them, the leader of the military actions in the north of the West Bank, indicated in his testimony that military operations that they do in the north of the West Bank in under the name of the military Abdullah Azam Brigades. Off to the first point, which is on January 1992, first operation of IQB. Al-Qassam in Muhammad bin Hasrat conducted the brigade's first operations in West Bank in Jerusalem and is still going on today. There is Al-Din following the murder of the Jewish rabbi Doron Shoshan on January 1st, 1992. Al-Qassam Brigades released its first statement following the December 13, 1992 kidnapping and murdering East Israel soldier Nassim Toledano by Hamas. The occupation authorities in Israel drove some Hamas and Islamic Jihad leaders to March Zuhur in southern Lebanon. There were 415 activities in leader who were banished from different communities in the West Bank and Gaza, represent different sectors. Politics and humanitarian movement, as well as the condemnatory statements from the different parties followed via evolutions. The UN Security Council passed the resolution number 799 denouncing Israel's actions and asserting that they should be justified by the returns of the all exits, citing Israel's violations of the 1948 Geneva Conventions. At this point, setting up a political office is required to publicly oversee matters pertaining to foreign migrations. This is clearly necessary given to the rise in the Intifada and the fortifications of the Israeli Tighter Brigade, which hinders travel and communication between Gaza Strip and the Arabian West Bank's towns and villages, as well as between the two administrations' offices there. We move to the next point, which is one of the major conflict was in 2008, as known as Operation Castle. This conflict began with Israel strike on Gaza in response to Hamas rocket attack. This conflict resulting in significant casualties on both sides, as well as extensive damage to infrastructure in Gaza. On 27 December 2008, Israel launched a massive military offensive against the Palestinians in Gaza Strip. The strip had been placed under an Israeli siege a year earlier, subjecting the 360 square kilometer exclave to the land, water and sea blockade. Could name Operation Castle. This offensive began at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning with Israel Air Force jets fire on target across the territory. Net reported this time that 80 jets was planes, helicopter and dropped over 100 bombs on the dozen of the target during initial strike. Among the target were the small fishing port and the main police compound in Gaza City. Still by 2018, Israel bombed Gaza with aerial strike for the first week of the attack. The United Nations fact-finding mission on the Gaza conflict, also referred to as the Cold Stones report, cited a report from the Palestinian Center for Human Rights for the week of December 24 to 31, 2008, which stated that Israel has launched at least 300 air and sea strikes against the Gaza Strip. These strikes target 37 houses, 67 security and training sites, 20 workshops, 25 public and private institutions, 7 mosques, and 3 educational institutions. Through the strike-targeted attack were launched against police stations, particularly in the first few minutes of the attack on December 27th. 3 other stations and the Arafat City Police Headquarters in Gaza City came under attack.
Thank you for my beloved friends AQHIELA. So I will continue to you guys about the history on October 2023, which is the Al-Aqsa flood operations. In early October 2023, the East al-Qassam Brigades and Hamas fighters crossed the Gaza Strip border into the southern Israel. They stormed towns and the cities, killing more than 1,300 Israelis, injuring 3,300 and kidnapping hundreds more. At that moment, the Israel army was off guard when the military branch of Hamas, which is the Al-Qassam Brigade, launched a complex attack on Israel settlements near Gaza that caused its soldiers to be subjected to nearly 5,000 missiles. Hamas called the attack the al-Aqsa flood, and it succeeded as they took over Israel communities along the border. The fighters from Palestine Islamic Jihad and the other Palestine organizations based in the Gaza eventually joined the Brigade al-Qassam, having entering the border region to engage in the fighting with the Israel occupation force. After becoming aware of al-Qassam brigades and Hamas attacks, the Israel occupation force responded by launching Operation Iron Sword against the Hamas organizations. Although Israel was not prepared for the attack, but it did not take a long time to launch a deadly counterattack. The Israel cabinet officially declared war on Hamas on the day after 7 October bombing, and the defense minister later ordered the Israel Defense Forces, which is IDF, to establish a total siege on Gaza. Let's continue to the history Israel-Palestine on May 2024. After a worldwide campaign urging Israel not to attack the city where more than 1 million Palestinians have sought refuge, the Israel Defense Forces, which is the IDF, launched a new attack on the southern city of Rafah on 6 May 2024. Israel and Hamas do not want to ceasefire due to the refusal of both sides to take ceasefire measures. It has given rise to various conflicts. The temporary ceasefire, based on the exchange of prisoners proposed by Washington, is not reliable for the al-Qassam brigades and the Palestinians. This is because the Israel army may receive supplies from the US to resume operation if Israel continue to block the Gaza border during the temporary pause. So this will arise more conflict due to this violence. Of course, Hamas and the people of Gaza deserve a fair deal. So, in conclusion, ceasefire in Gaza is unlikely to happen before Ramadan due to differences of opinion between Israel and Hamas, as well as the absence of the US in resolving the crisis.
Hi, I'm gonna explain about the major conflict between Israel and Palestine, particularly involving the military wing of Hamas known as the Israel-Palestine al-Qassam Brigades. Is a complex and ongoing. One of the major conflicts was in 2008, also known as Operation Kasli. This conflict began with Israel's strike on Gaza in response to Hamas rocket attacks. The conflict resulted in significant casualties on both sides, as well as extensive damage to infrastructure in Gaza. Additionally, on 27 December 2008, Israel launched a massive military offensive against the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The Strip had been placed under an Israeli siege a year earlier, subjecting the 360 square kilometer enclave to a land, air and sea blockade. Codenamed Operation Kasli, this offensive began at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning, with Israel Air Force jets firing on target across the territory. YNet reported at that time 80 jets, warplanes and helicopters dropped over 100 bombs and dozens of targets during the initial strike. Among the targets were the small fishing port and the main police compound in Gaza City. So, another major conflict that happened between Israel and Palestine when in November 2012, the conflict reignited with the intense exchange of rocket fire between Hamas and Israel, prompting Israel to launch Operation Pillar of Defense. So this conflict lasted for 8 days and resulted in a ceasefire brokered by Egypt. Furthermore, the exchange of rocket fire and aerial bombardment that claimed the lives of over 100 people, inflicts numerous casualties and caused massive damage to infrastructure, finally came to a halt on 22 November 2012. The ceasefire agreement between the government of Israel (GOI) and Hamas in Gaza, while shaky, has nevertheless brought about a state of calm to the region of the moment.
Overall, the Israel and Palestine conflict indirectly linked with the activities of groups like the al-Qassam Brigade remain one of the most enduring volatile conflicts globally. Addressing its underlying causes and achieving lasting peace will necessitate genuine political will, mutual recognition, and steadfast commitment to dialogue and compromise from all involved parties. Without substantial step forward toward reconciliation and the equitable resolution of grievance, the cycle of violence and suffering is poised to persist, further jeopardizing the prospect for peace and stability in the region.